I'm Mike, this is Nori, and we're welcoming you back to a conversation with Mike and Nori.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's kind of a nice day today.
It is.
We had a very busy couple weeks. Of course, we're kind of always busy, right?
Yeah. That's okay.
Today, though,
Non-stop.
we decided earlier this week that we would be talking about business today.
Because that's what people want to know. That's what people are asking, because, right? Because especially with the COVID, everything, like, jobs are not secure, like people thought that was secure, but small business are not secure.
There's so many changes in the economy today.
Yeah.
And one of the top topics is, how do I build a business that's going to give me income, not just for today, but possibly for my kids and my grandkids?
Generational wealth.
How do I build a company that's going to provide generational wealth,
Right.
and in a society that's basically adopted everything to be disposable?
Yeah. Or microwave generation, right?
Yeah.
Everything's like snap, snap.
Want it now.
Here you go.
If it's not hot enough, add 10 more seconds to the microwave and it'll get hotter. And that's not, business isn't structured that way. In fact, life is not structured that way. Anything that has a extended value has to be worked on very diligently.
Yep. Long lasting. That is beyond your life.
Yeah, even when you talk about microwave, let's heat up a piece of food in the microwave. It only stays hot for not very long.
Yeah.
It cools off so fast, but then if you were to cook it in an oven with the regular methodology for cooking, it'll stay hot a whole lot longer.
And if you have the right container,
It's even better.
it's even better.
But enough about philosophical issues.
Today we thought we'd go talk about the Rich Dad Poor Dad's 4 quadrants. ESBI, employee, self-employed, business, investor.
Correct. We needed to make sure that if a person is driven to making a company that's going to give them generational wealth, that they have to concentrate on the correct way to do that.
That's right. So being, as we all know, 95% of our population are employees, right? Is it
Yes.
more than that?
No, it's that's a close proximity. In today's we have 90% of the population are employees, probably, but then we have a 7% unemployment rate.
Oh,
So, the numbers aren't going to change very much. Trust me.
COVID or no COVID, it's the same.
It's almost always the same.
Yeah.
There are going to be people that just want to work for somebody else. They just want the paycheck. They want that congruity of
They want
getting
the benefits.
and the benefits. Yeah, and the benefits. There's a security in that.
Security.
Yeah, there is a security in it, but there's not a comfortable. I don't know how to say
Okay,
that.
well,
Yeah.
you could say security, but people are loyal to companies, but companies, corporations are not loyal to you, to employees. The first time they hit a red mark, on their financials, they're gonna think about, is it layoff time? Who do we fire? Who do we lay off? What do we cut? How much can we cut?
And now it's almost an annual event.
Yeah.
In most companies that have a large employee base, it's an annual event to lay off people due to whatever reason they could come up
Yeah.
with.
Sometimes it's cleanup.
Yeah, and that's absolutely the truth. I think they did it for a period of time when there was a seasonal shutdown, but then they found out they could get rid of all of the people that didn't do their jobs well and call it something that it wasn't, so they didn't have to pay unemployment issues that came in within that. So they got rid of the people that actually didn't perform in these layoffs instead of just laying off a bunch of people because they didn't have the work to perform in that thing. But anyway, again, we're getting that philosophical issue about employment and non-employment. But we're not going to talk about employees today.
Yeah.
Because that's not where the benefit lies in this ESBI framework. So if we look at this, we have the ES, which is on the left side.
Left side.
Right, but I'm looking at them. So when they're looking at me, this left side is going to be E and S. This is employee and self-employed. And then on the right side of that quadrant, you have the business owners and the investors.
So the E, you have a job.
Correct.
With the S, you'll still have a job.
With more hours.
With more hours and no benefits. And those two are the highest taxed of all of them.
The government is not dumb. I mean, they base all of their stuff on data. And the data says that the employees are going to pay the most amount of taxes to the government. And we have charts on all these things. And if 70% of the income that goes to the government is paid by employees, and the majority of that is between the employees of the middle. It used to be. I know things are a little bit different today, but it used to be from the middle class up to the upper and lower elite. They pay the majority of all the taxes in the United States. Period. The lower income people hardly paid any of the taxes. But that's a different thing. Again, let's stay focused on employees, self-employed.
Yeah.
The self-employed pays around 39% self-employment tax. A regular employee pays between 35 and 38% in taxes into the governmental agencies that provide governing over the employees. So
let's give an example for self-employed. We know what employees are. That's easy.
Yeah.
Self-employed, even though you say you own your business, it's still just a job. Like a doctor, a dentist, real estate agents, brokers, anything else.
If they're not structured the correct way, you are self-employed. In fact, most dentists I know have an LLC, and their LLC manages their business, but it's a single member LLC, and a single member LLC, if they're getting paid out of that, that's all, every single dollar that comes out of that company to them is self-employment tax.
And it's passed through, right?
And so they are the highest taxed ever. If their employees are taxed less than they are. So we don't, that self-employment is also anybody that has a single member LLC, basically, that takes funds from that LLC to pay their mortgage or their car payment or their benefits for their insurance or their any dollar that comes out of that company that goes into their bank account is taxed as income for that person, and that's self-employment tax if it's an LLC.
Yeah. So even if you say you own a Subway, or you own a franchise like a Subway, a pizza, and if you only own one, it's still self-employed. If you own several, that's something different.
And it all depends on the structure that someone has put in place for you. So we try to make sure that people understand when they start a business that the least, I forgot how to say this, the least desirable entity is the one that generates self-employment tax.
Yeah.
So we completely stay away from those things. We know ways how to keep that from happening, and it's important that you realize it, that if you want to get away from self-employment taxes, that you have to structure your businesses a very specific way. And the most important thing of all is that if you think you're going to get generational wealth out of a business that's being taxed almost 40%, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Real estate investors, if they think they're going to get generational wealth built out of LLCs, that they're doing renovations on a piece, and every single dollar that comes out of that LLC that goes into their private account is going to be taxed at 40%. You know, there's no way for that company to overcome the negative deficit of taxes in order to build generational wealth.
Also, brokers and real estate agents.
Same thing.
You know, Mike has special class for that, for you guys.
For people, so they can structure their private license into a position where they're not subject to self-employment tax.
Yeah,
That they
even
can operate their
artists,
business. Yeah.
you know, singers
Artists.
If you don't structure yourself correctly, you're self-employed.
That's correct. So we want to stay away from that
Yeah.
that left side of that quadrant, because the E and the S are the most taxed, and it can happen, but it's almost impossible that you'll be able to generate enough wealth to take care of your grandkids in that kind of a system.
Yeah, that's right.
So when we talk about the right side of the quadrant, we're talking about business owners. Now that's different than a self-employed individual. And then we're talking about investors. So these people over here earn money whether they're at their employment or not.
At their business.
Correct. I'm sorry, yeah, at their business, not their employment. So if a guy that owns a business is able to walk away from that business for 2 or 3 weeks, and that business still operates without any hindrance, that's a business owner. The self-employed person, if he walks away from his business has to shut down, because he's the one that's running it. He's the skill set that makes it work. Carpenters, electricians, doctors, lawyers, if they take a day off, then that business has to shut down. That's that self-employed issue. A business owner can not show up at work at that business location for a month, but his business is still generating income, it's still making sales, it's still taking things and keeping employees paid and generating enough business that he can walk away and not be able to be there immediately to function.
So if you're a dentist or a doctor, you could still be on the business owner side.
Absolutely.
If you own your building, you have several doctors, several nurses in your employ, and you can walk away from it and not be a practicing doctor all the time, 100% of the time. That's a business owner.
Yeah. So that's what we want to encourage people to do, because that will build generational wealth. It takes time. There's no microwave standard push for 1 minute and you got a hot dish coming out of it. It doesn't work that way. It takes time to build that, but that's what you need to do. And then we need to talk about investors. These are people that can take the money that they have generated through the business that they have and redirect it into investments that will give an exponential return to them, so that they can build on even more wealth. So everybody knows that if the rich get richer. Well, that's the reason why, is because they're able to invest, they're able to walk away from their business, they're able to have 2 or 3 different businesses at the same time, doing more than one type of business, and they don't have to worry about it going. They can walk away. It's always going to have it's always going to be a check for them.
Mm-hmm. So let's give an example.
Yeah.
An example are if you own apartment buildings, or one apartment building, or hotels. You have management companies that manage all of that, and they pay everything. They pay all the expenses and employees' salaries and everything, and then you get the net income. You get the income after all of that's paid without you being there at all. So that's one example.
Well, the doctor's office, a lot of the doctors will form a co-op, and they'll get together and then they can form a business where one doctor could walk away and cover that doctor's patients while he's gone, and then each one of them takes turns. But that's another way of doing it. But you can't be you would have to hire somebody to come in to cover your. If you didn't have that capability, you'd have to hire somebody to come in and do that. It still could possibly happen, but manufacturing company. It's basically any kind of retail sales company can be that business owner, right? Is that what we're talking about, or investors? Yeah, we're talking about business owners, and both.
I thought we moved to business to investors.
So, but for the investor, yeah, that's correct. You were talking about apartments, so we can buy a 90-unit complex, and do that. Hotels, the same thing. Commercial office buildings. This is where the real estate comes in really important. Not as a self-employed investor. I mean, a self-employed individual making deals in real estate, but as an investor walking in, you might get 10 investors that can get together with $1 million each, buy a $10 million piece of property, and then you would be able to give the dividends to the investors based on their percentage of ownership, and that is income that's always going to be coming in because they get monthly rents, they get that kind of stuff. A grocery store. Most of these businesses that have chains, manufacturing, restaurants, and we're not talking about the mom and pop restaurant down the street. We're talking about the Chevys. I mean, I'm not sure Chevys is all gone by now, but we're talking about Olive Garden.
I think those are franchises, right?
Some are, but there's corporate owned. And so even if you did do franchises, if you structured them in the right way, you could still walk away and they could always be running. But it takes more than just.
It takes more than one.
It takes more than one.
Yeah. So in looking at the employee, self-employed, you have no leverage, for people, or what do you call that? Human leverage, right? For business, on the business side and the investor side, you're leveraging your employees' time to make money. So you have leverage, passive, and then in the investor side, your money is leverage, so it's making you money without you doing anything.
Correct. Stock market, bonds market, anything that has to do with financial instruments is all investments.
Royalties from your songs.
Royalties, that's
very passive income.
That's passive income. That's correct. And by passive income, you don't got to do nothing. The checks just roll in every single month. You don't have to go out and go to work for 2 hours to get it. You don't have to do anything. You're just going to get a check in the mail. Book royalties, song royalties, anything that has intellectual property attached to it. Ideas. People sell ideas all the time, or license those ideas to other companies that can actually perform on the ideas, and they'll get a royalty for having that idea. Yeah. And that's where we would like to emphasize for people to be focused in is to get into that position where you're a business owner or investor. Look at the intellectual property that you have. Everybody has it. Mm-hmm. Everybody has it. I don't care who you are. The employee doesn't. Everybody has intellectual property. Controlling it, managing it, and putting it in a position to give you money is important. Mm-hmm. And there's a specific way to do that. We don't.
That's another lesson.
That's another. Yeah.
That's a big lesson.
Huge lesson. But it's important to know.
Mm-hmm.
If you write a book and you have a bestseller on Amazon now, of course, it doesn't take much to have a bestseller. A little due diligence and you can have a bestseller within 24 hours on Amazon.
But to actually make money
your
bestseller is
that's a whole different
something else. Yeah.
Because there aren't very many, even YouTubers and all of these influencers and everything that you see on the computer-based environment for technology, there are very, very few people that make money doing any of this kind of stuff. Very few people.
One thing I can say too, as a self-employed, sometimes is you know we talk about franchises, and a lot of people get involved with direct sales, like network marketing, right? So in the beginning, you're sort of self-employed because you're like always working, looking for people to recruit, join your team, training them, and then training the ones that join their teams. When you get to a point where it becomes a passive income because you trained enough people, you brought enough people into the business in your organization, so then the money just comes in monthly. I mean, that doesn't mean you stop recruiting, but when you settle and you get, you know, to a point where like, okay, this is easy, I just get, but you know, there's a point where you say, okay, I'm gonna recruit some more because I want to help more people.
Right.
And so then you do it again. That doesn't mean you'll lose the other people, but you just get a whole new team.
Yeah, it's important. And that's a big transition. Moving from, I need income, so I have to help people to get income, to that position where I just want to help people get their income. Because I have income, and I'm not going to get hurt by my income. You know, I'm not under any pressure to retain to do anything. But I do want to help other people get their income base.
Because you know,
the same as I did.
So like once you've done it, then you can train. You train people, other people. Then once you are at the point where you say, I just really want to help others.
Yeah. And that's where we are. I mean, we want to help others. We really do want to make sure that people understand the best way to achieve their dreams, whether it's being the best employee they can be, whether it's starting a self-employment, an electrician or a carpenter, or a guy that can cook really good that wants to just start a small restaurant, or people that want to actually build generational wealth. We want to give you those opportunities and understand what's available to you, and what it means basically to choose one of those, and then go after it. We really want you to be strong in this. So that's why we're here. I hope we explained a little bit today.
Yeah. If you have questions, let us know.
Absolutely.
We'll answer them. Just put a note there at the bottom on your comments and stuff.
Yeah, and we'll do our best to get back to you guys. So thank you very much for joining us. And here's saying so long from Mike and Mo.